Well, good morning and welcome to Elevenses. You're watching Kevin Williams here of Survival Skills Rider Training. It's number 104, unbelievably, in this sequence of live webcasts. And it's Wednesday, the 13th of January, and it's another fairly grotty day here in London. What have we got for you today? Well, big news is that the FBI have raided Ducati's California headquarters. I'll bring you the sound of silence on UK streets, and we'll also have a look at Euro regulations for riding after lockdown is all over as part of the Brexit issue. So sit yourself down with your brew and stay with me for the next 20-25 minutes or so. Right, okay, so what is the big news this week? Well, a story that popped up was that Ducati's California-based North America headquarters was raided by the FBI last month. Now, word of this raid first appeared in an eyewitness post on the Bay Area Riders Forum, or BARF, if you prefer the acronym. And that was soon followed up by written stories on both the Road Racing World and the Asphalt and Rubber websites. Now, the author of the original forum post stated that more than 30 agents took part in the raid at the company's Mountain View, California offices, and that they were searching for financial documents and other information. Although the later Asphalt and Rubber article contradicted that particular report, saying that their own sources had told them that the number of FBI agents was considerably less than 30. Road Racing World contacted the FBI directly, and their official said the agency would investigate and respond to the request for information about the alleged action. And it appears that, in fact, a response was later received via an email from an FBI spokesperson called Catherine Zakel. And she wrote, "I can confirm that FBI San Francisco was at that location on December 17th, 2020 to conduct court-authorized law enforcement activity. As of today's date, no public records are available. Due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, I cannot comment further at this time." Road Racing World also spoke via email to Ducati's marketing director, Phil Reed, who refused to confirm the reports. And he wrote, "It is Ducati North America's practice to cooperate fully with inquiries from government agencies. As part of that cooperation, Ducati North America does not comment on these inquiries." Now, Asphalt and Rubber's claim that their own sources confirmed that the personal residences of several high-level Ducati North America employees were also subject to search efforts from the FBI as part of the investigation, and that they believe that the scope of the search relates to a financial crime investigation. Now, I have to say, as soon as I heard the story, my first thought was emissions. California's got some of the toughest emission tests in the world. Ducati have been building some of the highest performance bikes in the world, and frankly, the two don't mix very well. And of course, their owners, who are the Volkswagen Audi group, at a remove, their direct owners are Lamborghini, who are part of VAG. VAG do have some past history, of course, when it comes to emissions cheat devices. So it'll be interesting to see what develops here and what news we get out of that particular story. I will keep an eye on it, and I will keep you posted as and when I can. Okay, so time for a sort of a cheesy lead-in. The streets of the UK are about to be subjected to the sounds of silence. Yes, awful, wasn't it? But never mind. Just every now and again you're given an opening like that, and you just have to use it. It's basically, the Silence is yet another brand of electric scooter. This time it's a Spanish-built brand, and they are unveiling their range here in the UK. Silence was founded in Barcelona, in Spain, in 2012, with the aim of developing fully electric scooters in-house from the ground up. So it's the only electric motorcycle manufacturer in Spain which builds its own batteries. and their 165 strong workforce currently produces the equivalent of 10,000 electric mopeds a year. I'm not quite sure what they mean by the equivalent of. Either they build 10,000 or they don't, I would have thought. Hey ho. Anyway, they've sold 21,000 models across Europe as we speak. They claim that they've already captured 66% of the Spanish market and around 30% of the European electric scooter market. And they have 70 sales locations around Europe, and they're just about to add their first in the UK in the West Midlands to make UK a new market for them. The model range is going to be 4 strong, and they'll basically aim at everything from young riders through delivery drivers to commuters with this range. At the bottom will be an inexpensive moped equivalent scooter with just a 35-mile range. That'll have a 2 kilowatt battery and a 1.5 kilowatt motor. So that will deliver a 30 mile per hour top speed. And it comes in at a fairly bargainous £2,695 on the road. So no additional charges to pay. That's what you ride away price. The top of the range model would be basically a 125 equivalent with a 5.6 kilowatt hour battery and a 9 kilowatt motor. And that'll deliver a not particularly startling 0 to 30 time of just under 4 seconds, but basically would give you a range of around 80 miles and a top speed of about 60 plus. And again, the on-the-road price is actually very reasonable, $4,995. All the models come with the predictable driving modes. They come with Eco and City, and the 2 faster machines also get a sport mode. Rather unusually, they also get reverse gear. I'm not really sure how much use that is on a lightweight scooter. They come with regenerative braking, and Silence estimates the running cost of £1 per 100 miles for all 4 of their machine. They are covered with a 3-year battery warranty, 2-year manufacturer warranty on the bike itself, and you also get 2 years AA roadside assistance here in the UK. So that gives you some peace of mind. And John Edwards, who's one of the 4 people putting their name to the UK operation, said the UK transportation market is changing at an unprecedented pace. The launch of the Silence family of class-leading electric moto scooters meets the demands of consumers and companies on so many levels. The Silence brand is cool. The products are even cooler. Simple, smart, clean, and beautifully designed. We're excited about bringing Silence to Britain, delivering class-leading products and providing a class-leading ownership experience to a new family of customers. Well, yes, okay. There's nothing particularly unusual about the model range, unless you consider the genuine 2-person seat selling point. As you can see, that bike is actually big enough to carry a passenger with some room to spare, and the underseat storage area is also big enough for 2 open face helmets, which is often a problem with some of these machines. They don't give you quite enough space for 2 helmets. Now, the ultimate selling point that caught my eye, though, is the removable battery. Now, lithium-ion batteries that pull out aren't exactly unique. Quite a few bikes do have them, and the idea is obviously that you can lug the battery to a charging point and charge it up, so you don't need to worry about on-street charging. But what this particular bike comes with is a sort of a click-and-go release system. But if you have a look at it, what you'll see is that also it's got a sort of a suitcase-style handle which pops up and a pair of wheels. So basically you can move this battery pack around very, very easily indeed. And to move this indoors to charge up your bike at your normal 240 volt charging point. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit more of it, there's a very short video here. I will just pop that up on the comment thread for you. Just one moment, nearly there. Okay, that should now be up. So you can have a quick look at that. If you're a short-range commuter, they're certainly affordable. I don't think they're particularly nice-looking bikes, but hey ho, you can't have everything. Who have we got saying good morning this morning? Nigel said hello. Bloody awful day. He comments, yes. Paul also comments, lots of black ice around. Well, we don't have that problem here in London, I don't think, but certainly a fairly miserable day. So definitely not a day for riding, even if we could. Which of course brings me to mention the fact that whilst I am locked down, I am not shut down. You can still follow me on Facebook. You can read my articles over there for now. You can travel over to my YouTube channel, Survival Skills UK, where I've just put up another one of my 60-second safety videos, this one being a background one, telling you how I actually put these videos together. So go over there and have a look. And of course, if you're interested, you can always find my coffee page too and access my articles, my archive of articles over there. But right, so, okay. What else do we have to talk about? Well, I have some new reading material. Let me just grab them. I have 2 books, which I have bought and I shall be reading myself. Let's get that one out of the way first of all. The official DVSA Guide to Riding, the Essential Skills. Now, this is a book I actually haven't read for a while. The last copy I bought was probably to about 2006 or 2007, because it's actually sort of the Bible for basic trainers. It's the one that the DVSA recommend that all instructors read. Now, the first, I haven't actually done more than glance at it at the moment, but I'll be interested to see how it's changed, because the first thing I noticed is it is a lot thicker than the old one. There is a lot more content to this book than there used to be. It seems fairly logically laid out, but I'll get on to that and give you an overview of the content. I've always felt that the Essential Skills book is much underrated. People tend to go straight for the second book I've got here, Motorcycle Roadcraft, the police manual. But in fact, the DVSA manual is actually a good logical read. And the 2 books actually complement each other pretty well. And frankly, you shouldn't read this without reading the other one. That's always been my opinion. Far too many people ignore the DVSA's input and jump straight to this, and I think, frankly, they miss a point. Now, I haven't read Roadcraft for a couple of years either. I skipped the previous edition. I did get to see the new chapter, which actually included Miracle of Miracles counter steering for the first time. Not very well. It wasn't written, it wasn't comprehensive, and it wasn't entirely correct either. So I'll be interested to see if that particular book has also improved on the machine handling things, because as I've said many times about Roadcraft, it might be a good defensive riding manual, but the previous edition was absolutely hopeless in terms of machine control. You'd never get the bike out the car park if you relied on Roadcraft to ride the bike. Okay, so what else have we got for you? Well, bits on the bike, bolt-on bits, they're supposed to enhance your bike. At least that's always been my understanding. But as I trawl through press releases of new pieces of riding bling, sometimes I wonder. For example, Pyramid Plastics have just introduced what they call a seat rack. Now, my understanding of a bike rack is something you attach to the machine, which allows you to carry some luggage. And in fact, after crash bars, a rack was the very first accessory I fitted to my very first bike. And most of my bikes have featured a rack ever since, simply because they are obviously very practical if you need to transport more than yourself from A to B. And as a courier, in fact, a rack and the associated top box and side cases were essential. But of course, we can improvise. If we're not carrying a passenger, then luggage can be carried on the passenger seat, assuming we've got one, and that's something I've also done. But I am struggling somewhat with the logic of this seat rack. Now let's just again show you what we're looking at here. You'll see that it's a bolt-on rack. It's steel, it's black powder coated, And you'll see that rather than fit behind the rear seat, which is where I assumed it would go, it actually covers the rear seat. Now, I suppose if you never actually ever carry a passenger, or if you intend to make a long solo trip, then, and particularly if you've got one of those sort of unusually awkwardly shaped minuscule passenger seats, which modern bikes seem to be fitted with out of the showroom, it may make some sense to give yourself something a bit more secure to secure luggage to than the sort of that sort of triangular seat pad that fits underneath it. But what if you actually need to get under that steel rack? Maybe you need to replace a blown taillight bulb. Less of a problem with LED bulbs on modern bikes, but we still need to access that space. And very often, of course, it's the bit under the rear seat where the toolkit sits. And of course, what do you need to get the bolts out to access the toolkit? You'll need the toolkit in the first place. So there's an element of sort of design questions there for me, that the practicality of that particular gadget doesn't seem 100%. The currently only available for the KTM 1290 SDR, although other models are coming soon. It's £60 with all fittings, which I suppose isn't an outrageous price given the cost of so many bolt-on bits for bikes. Racks for the Tracer 900 GT are also on the way. Although again, there's a bike I would have suggested is probably going to be ridden two up more than often than not. And also the latest CB500X, also in the works. Right, okay, so let's carry on with some thoughts about post-Brexit riding requirements when we finally get loose to ride again and we are going to be heading abroad. Now, as people are beginning to realise in all sorts of walks of life, one of the drawbacks of Brexit is that there's a lot of paperwork involved now travelling abroad. More mature viewers will probably remember documents like green cards and international driving licenses. I suspect most of the younger riders watching won't. Now, in general, if you have a driving license issued in the UK, you will not need to have an international driving permit, an IDP, to ride in the EU, and your UK license will also cover you in Switzerland, Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein, none of which are part of the EU. So that's one bit of good news. But just to make life complicated, there are, of course, some exceptions. The first is if you are one of those riders who's been proudly holding on to their old paper license. If you still have a paper license and not a photo card license, you will need to get hold of an international driving permit. The same applies if your license was issued in any of the following: Gibraltar, Guernsey, Jersey, or the Isle of Man. In each case, you will need an international driving permit. And just to confuse matters, there are also apparently two types of international driving permit. I didn't know this until I was reading up on details. For Germany and France, for example, you need a 1968 IDP, whilst a 1949 IDP covers visits to other countries such as Andorra. Okay, so head off to the post office, part with £5.50 and get yourself an IDP if you happen to fall into one of those exception groups. Now, you will also need what's known as a motor insurance green card from your insurer to cover you to ride in the EU, and that will include the Republic of Ireland, plus Andorra, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Serbia, or Switzerland. The motor insurance green card is a document provided by your insurer to prove that you have a minimum level of third-party insurance cover. And it's worth noting that may not be the same level of cover that you actually have in the UK. So you do need to check your own insurance and work out what you're covered for and what you're not. The green card must be printed on green paper to be valid, so it looks like you probably have to order one directly from the insurance company, and it must have a minimum of 15 days cover left on it when you enter an EU country. You should be able to get hold of a green card just by contacting your insurer and asking for one, and it shouldn't cost anyone, but do make sure that you tell them where you're going and make sure you apply in plenty of time. At the moment, it seems they are taking anything up to 6 weeks for them to be delivered. Okay, now what about a GB sticker? If your number plate has a GB already on it, either alone or alongside a Union flag, you're okay, unless you're planning to ride in Spain, Cyprus, or Malta, when you actually need a discrete GB sticker, no matter what is on your number plate. However, if the GB is alongside an EU flag or the national flags of England, Scotland, Wales, then you will need a GB sticker too. And just to make it even more confusing, if you ride it in the Republic of Ireland, you don't need a GB sticker, regardless of which kind of number plate your bike is fitted with. So multiple countries have multiple regulations on this, so you absolutely need to know what rules apply to which countries. Something else to be aware of, and that's what happens if you have a collision with another driver. If you're in the European Economic Area, that's the EU member states plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland, you may need to make a claim in their country. And that is likely to mean that you'll end up dealing with a foreign insurance company, and most likely you'll need to deal with them in their local language, not English. The Motor Insurers Bureau keeps a fund that UK motorists have been able to draw compensation from in the event of an accident with an uninsured driver. And before Brexit, that would have covered you if the uninsured driver was from the EU. But now Brexit is complete, this form of compensation appears to be restricted to accidents that happen in the UK only. So if you have a crash with an uninsured EU driver in the UK, you have access to the Motor Insurer Bureau's fund. But if you have that crash in the EU, then you are going to be out of pocket unless you somehow manage to get some compensation from the country in which the collision happened. This point of information is due to be updated according to the source that I was reading. So welcome to post-Brexit Europe. Right, okay, so that brings me pretty much to the end of the show today. I'll just close out by mentioning my new newsletter. I launched it last Friday. The reason for having a newsletter is to overcome the Facebook algorithms, which limit the number of articles that people see. I put up what I thought was a particularly interesting post the Monday before last, and hardly anybody seems to have seen it. The current posts on Monday and Tuesday this week have done rather better, but the idea is that if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a roundup of the week's posts on Facebook delivered direct to your inbox, and then you can choose to follow those links back to Facebook directly. Don't forget, you can access Facebook just like any other web page via a link. So last but not least, don't forget you can also access my back catalogue of articles over on my Ko-fi page. Do head over there if you want to read some better biking articles. £3 gets you a month's access. And that's pretty much it, really. I'll be back on Sunday. I hope you have enjoyed the show today. Bit of a short one, but there's not a lot of news around in the world out there. So yeah, thanks for looking in. Next show will be Sunday. That's it from me for today. All right, take care, everybody. Be safe out there.